Hello and welcome in to the Starters Podcast Edition, 5 questions. I'm Dave. That is George and Simon Tsalikis, who you may know from the Simon and Joey show on Instagram, answering questions and ranking things and listing things. Quite the follow if you guys want to do that. How's it going, boys?
Dave, how are you?
In fine form, Dave. In fine form.
I like it. I mean, I like the hat too. I don't really like the hat, but it is a nice hat.
We got a new DC.
I'm happy for you. Happy for you.
Let's do it.
Speaking of, we're going to go into talk some football for the first 2 questions. First question, of course, brought to you by Billy K's. You can follow them up at Billy K's Burgers. Absolutely delicious burgers, subs, hot dogs, whatever you want. They have everything you can ask for. Their poutine is top notch. When's the last time you guys ate that? Have you guys gone there recently?
It's been a couple of weeks, but I can recommend that burger. The Billy K burger is very good.
I finished radio at 12. Was there by 12:30. It was a fantastic. I walked in with every intention of having a burger, and then I saw that there was an incredible special on grilled hot dogs, and
that was it, huh?
Yeah, we're done.
You fell victim there. All right.
You love those grilled hot dogs. Can't blame you. All right, so check them out. Follow them at Billy K's Burgers. All right, guys. I didn't want to ask this question because I'm kind of. I'm done with football. No, I'm just joking. But conference championship this week, and I just want to know. Obviously, it's the Chiefs and the Bills and the Commanders, and I just want to know, what is your best storyline for these conference champions?
I think the easy answer is Jaden Daniels and the rookie season he's pulling off, and the Bills trying to get back to a Super Bowl. Both those answers would be incorrect. We've seen great young quarterbacks. We've seen great players for 75 years, 100 years of National Football League, Canadian Football League, and every other football league you possibly imagine. We have not seen one single thing in the National Football League, and that's a three-peat. Not Tom Brady, not Troy Aikman, not Joe Montana, not Terry Bradshaw, not anybody ever. Again, Jaden Daniels is a beautiful story, but winning 3 in a row has simply never, ever been done. He's chasing ghosts there, right? He's just chasing immortality. He's chasing Mount Rushmore, you name it. And if he gets to number 4 with a 3-peat in there, I don't know. I guess the only thing he's got to catch is Tom Brady because he's left everybody else behind. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on here, something we've never seen as a 3-peat.
Love it. George?
So, yeah, I'm all Chiefs out, guys. I get it, but if I got to watch Taylor Swift anymore, and look, I actually like the Chiefs. I think they do things the right way. They do get some calls go their way every now and again, it would appear, but you can't. They win games, and that's what the whole thing is about. It's about winning games. That being said, I can't get past, I think, what Jaden Daniels is doing. I think that is the story. Jaden Daniels right now, take away the fact that he's a rookie. He didn't go to a team that has had a history of success in recent years or even long term. He went to a dumpster fire of an organization that couldn't get out of its own way with whether it's their owner, the name change that they bungled, the stadium, the whole thing. They haven't been successful since Joe Gibbs' first run in those Super Bowl years. So for him to be able to not only bring them back to relevance, but they're one game away from the Super Bowl. If Jaden Daniels was a 5th-year quarterback, I would say that's super impressive. If it was Kirk Cousins that came in, for example, and did that, I would be impressed by that. But this guy has done it with no NFL experience. He's doing it with a first-year offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, that I think is going to get a head coaching job next year. There's just so much impressive stuff going on with Jaden Daniels and his run, and I think that is the story because, can he Can he do it? Can he finish the story, as they say? We're going to find out. The little wrestling reference.
I love it. The bloodline Cody Rhodes reference.
I have no idea what's going on there.
Finish the story,
I'm
Simon.
a big fan.
Yes, I've heard that. Yes.
All right.
Cody Rhodes reference. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Still the champion?
Yes.
He is indeed. Yes.
Fantastic. I was a big fan of his dad.
Well, there you go.
But he's not the American dream. He's the American nightmare.
Got it. Makes sense.
Big difference.
Yes.
Is his brother still running around with the gold outfits?
Occasionally.
Occasionally,
yes. Not on a full-time basis.
Gold dust. Can't beat gold dust. All right. Question number 2. We'll stick with the NFL. Brought to you by Cunningham's Pub. Don't forget they have live music. They have all sorts of things going on there. But, of course, the most important thing, the best wings in town. Absolutely. So go out and check them out. Follow them at Cunningham's Pub on Instagram. All right, guys. Last week, you had a matchup, pretty good matchup between the Ravens and the Bills. And you arguably could be both your a showdown for who could be MVP in the NFL. I just want to know, who is your choice for the NFL MVP?
I mean, look, statistically, this is Lamar's best year, right? And he's already won a couple of these things. So you would be hard-pressed not to give it to Lamar. But after last week's game, the fact Josh Allen pulled that game out, and I know Mark Andrews dropped that ball, and Mark Andrews is excommunicado, I would say, now with all the Ravens fans. I have to say, it looks to me like Josh Allen's the guy here. I just think if you look at Lamar and what the weapons he has at his disposal, Simon, he's got guys that can catch the ball. He's got a guy that's an absolute beast in the backfield. He's got great coaching. He's got a great offensive line. He's got, and I don't want to take anything away from Lamar, because Lamar is a generational talent. He really is. But look, I think Allen and what he's done and how he's done it with the amount of talent around him, he can't be overlooked. I think he is the MVP of the 2024 NFL season.
Fair enough.
Look, I don't think last week's playoff performance had to do with anything, and if it did, Lamar Jackson was the best football player on that field.
He was.
If you were just to tune in and you knew nothing or you knew little about football, I didn't tell you those playoff implications, and I asked you after that 60-minute match who was the best player, you would tell me number 8 was. I agree with George. He gets to go to the line of scrimmage every single snap with a lot more talent than I think Josh Allen does. And if you don't believe me, just go to any NFL fantasy site and see where Ravens wide receivers and Ravens tight ends and Ravens running back would go. I think the Bills are serviceable. They're good. They're quality, right? There's nothing wrong with their run game. There's nothing wrong with their tight end, young and inexperienced in the wide receiver position. Who is going to win it? Lamar Jackson's going to win. Who I believe should win? Josh Allen. At the end of the day, when Lamar Jackson pulls out his numbers, it's just hard to compare. I hope they look beyond that. I hope we should. It's 2024, 2025 season. The football player has never been better, and the football fan and the football voter should not have never been better as well. We have so much information. We could do deep dives into everything. And it's unfortunate that if you do all those deep dives, it's Lamar. But if you just watch and you see that who he gets to play with, I think just Josh Allen gets a little bit more out of a little less talent. Nothing more than that. But I'd be surprised if it's Josh Allen.
Honorable mention, Joe Burrow. Just wanted to throw that in.
No mention to non-playoff quarterbacks. You know that the Bengals had a 4th place schedule, George?
I'm very well aware, yes.
Yeah. I know a little bit of love. If we're going to throw love, also throw a little bit of love to my boy Baker Mayfield. What a great year as well.
Yeah.
A lot of good. Listen, man. I don't think with Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix all looking good in their own, I don't think the National Football League has ever been in a spot with this much talent at the quarterback position. It's no longer 10, 12 deep. You go to 15, 16 quarterbacks in this league that can play at a high level, get their team to the postseason, and even win games in the postseason.
Fair enough. Can't argue with any of your arguments there. All right, guys, we're going to move on to hockey now. First, question number 3 brought to you by EA Fitness. EA Fitness tailored workouts to you. Go check them out at eafitness.inc on Instagram. They're great on social media, but more importantly, they're good in the gym. I mean, they're you can watch their videos and their stories on Instagram because it's just great what they see. They really tailor their workouts to each person, and it seems very motivational and a very cool place to work out. So check them out at eafitness.inc. All right, guys. Habs have won 13 of their last 17 games in a complete almost reversal of a few months ago of where they were on the in the standings. They are now currently in a playoff position, believe it or not, and are just a few. Forget the wild card; they're in a few points away from the third place in the Atlantic. So I just want to know, in your opinion, guys, are the Habs playoff bound?
Dave, I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to go with yes. They're better than they were a month ago at the backup goaltender position, which to me means they're better than they were a month ago at the goaltending position. The Carrier acquisition has been a home run. I liked it the moment it happened. Again, I liked it. Guy played 20 minutes, watched him a little bit play in Nashville. I didn't think he would be as good, or maybe I don't know if he's as good, but he just fits in perfectly well with what the Canadiens are looking for on a second pairing. It's getting a lot of time with Katie Gooley. And I just think you have too many players trending in the right direction. Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield have been trending in that direction the entire year. Kirby Dach's playing better. You got to think maybe the beginning of the year, it was the injury. It was coming back from the knee injury. He's playing better. Slav is playing better. Patrick Laine, that's a legitimate top 6. Probably the best we've seen Alex Newhook in the last 2 weeks. The best we've seen him in a Habs uniform. So I just think they're young. Lane Hutson is ridiculous. The power play is efficient. Penalty killing is efficient. They're not afraid to get down by a couple of goals. So I'm going to say, yeah, man. I'm going to say yes. I expect them to be playoff bound. Very competitive. I looked at the standings right before we came on. I think just to check the Devils were beating the Bruins, and I just wanted to see where everybody was. It's like 3 points separate like 6 hockey teams. It's just, you can't have a bad week. But I do think when we're done 82 games, I think the Canadiens will punch their ticket to the postseason.
Love it.
Listen, Canadians on an absolute heater right now. It doesn't even make sense what's going on, playing something like 870 hockey. Listen, I think they are going to make the playoffs, and I'll tell you why. It looks like they seem to have figured out how to win hockey games when they're not even supposed to win hockey games, and that's a very valuable skill for a hockey team. Seemed like the Canadiens couldn't close out games, and once they fell back in games, they couldn't. Even one goal was too much to overcome. And I saw some crazy stat that I think the last 5 games, they didn't score the first goal and won 4 of them. It kind of tells you the mindset has changed on the team. I think it goes a little bit further than just guys having career years. I just think they seem to have found an identity, which they didn't have before. So you know who your first line is. You know who your first power play is. You know who your penalty killer is. You know who your starting goalie is. You know who the backup is. There's no more questions. There was always question, who's going to be the power play quarterback? Who is going to be the guy on the edge taking that shot, scoring those power play goals? Who's going to kill penalty? Well, we have the answers to all of this, and everybody has a role, and everybody has accepted the role, more importantly. And I think what has happened is they're starting to believe. They're starting to believe. And, if we go back a month and a half, they looked dead to rights. People were questioning. There was, people writing in the paper that Martin St. Louis was going to resign. This was in an actual newspaper here in Quebec. And we fast forward a month and a half later, and it looks like, this is like
an Adams Trophy.
Yeah, it's hand of God stuff happening right here, because they look like they figured it out on all fronts. I can't point to one area and go, this is why they're winning. It's every area. Everything has gotten better, whether it's goaltending, whether it's the power play, the penalty kill, the third line, the fourth line. This team is hitting on all cylinders. I think they believe in each other. And what I really like, and the reason I think they're going to make the playoffs, I think this team believes in each other. It's you get that feeling that we haven't seen this in a very long time from a Montreal Canadiens team, where the guys kind of believe in each other and kind of like each other. That's the impression you get looking from the outside in. I'm not in the locker room. You guys aren't in the locker room. But when you look at it, you kind of sense, man, I don't know. These guys are going to play for each other. And right now, nothing is going wrong. You know, Arbor beat up Rempe. I mean, everything's going well. Like when you can ragdoll a 6'9" guy and, you know, if he doesn't even look like he's in your league, it's crazy. I'm just like, can they do anything wrong at this point? It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it.
Side note, Rempe is a terrible fighter. He's a humongous guy, and
he's a big guy. Yeah,
he could hit with the best of them, but he cannot fight.
Well, he got his ass whipped, man.
Oh, he did.
That was an ass whipping. That's what that was.
Embarrassing. I think the underrated part of this too, guys, is just the superstar effect. They finally have somebody, in my opinion, Patrick Laine, and I mean, he comes in and he's almost already at a point of game place. I think he's like 8th in team scoring, and he's played in like 17 games. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And there's a guy who scores pretty much at will almost, especially on the power play.
You know, I've been to a couple of games live this year, and I got to watch him. And the amazing part is he does it effortlessly. It doesn't look like he's killing himself out there. You know what I mean? It's just like, it seems like the game comes to him, and that's what usually happens with great players. The game comes to them, and that's what's happening. The game is coming to Patrick Laine.
It's just the incredible. I know Lane Hutson's having a big year, and you could say the same for Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. But before the Laine acquisition, no matter, even if I would have told you before the Laine acquisition in the middle of summer, I would have said Lane Hutson's going to finish top 3 and call their voting. That doesn't mean it's a playoff spot.
No.
You have a kid on a heater, right? But it's incredible that the moment he went down on that preseason game against the Leafs, and he came back one, because again, I don't want to take anything away. Lane Hutson and Caden Gooley and Matheson, they're all having good years, right? But the addition of one high-end quality forward completely changed the dynamic of the entire club. Guys on the second line that shouldn't be there went back to the third line. Guys on the third line went back to the fourth line, and it just made everything fit. So that's more of a shot to those when I come up with a ridiculous trade scenario or something, or anybody come over, my new one is go after Nazem Kadri to play center. Like where back in the day was whoever, Evander Kane. Oh, what's one guy going to do? At any bad team, any sport, what's one guy going to do? One guy can do a lot. And we're seeing that with Patrick Laine, because that's the only difference. That's the only difference. I know that Caulfield is having a great year. He had a good year last year. Suzuki's on the same pace. Slav has taken a step back. You're not getting, for most part of the season, you're not getting much out of Kirby Dach. One guy slid everybody into place. It's actually incredible.
Perfect. And you can argue Carrier did that as well on the defensive side. So
100%.
It's all coming together. All right, we'll stick with Habs talks, but question number 4 brought to you by Georges Leroy du Sous-Marin in Vaudreuil.
Been there.
Yeah, absolutely. Their subs are absolutely incredible. That's what they're famous for. But they also have the, what do they call it? The putitsa, which is a poutine on a pizza. Absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if anybody else does it, but it's absolutely incredible. They obviously have burgers. They have everything. So check them out at georgesleroy.vaudreuil on Instagram. All right, guys. Well, I guess, we kind of maybe answered our own question, the last question, but trade deadline is quickly approaching. So I want to know, should the Habs be buyers or sellers at this upcoming trade?
I think this is an easy one. I think you owe it to the core right now to keep them together. And I think whatever you're going to get for Yoel Armia, David Savard, Jake Evans, whomever else they may feel is tradable right now, I think you owe it to these guys to kind of see this through. And the beauty of it is you have 6 weeks, right? We have 6 weeks from today where we can take the time to see how this kind of goes, how they navigate through the fact that you've got 6 teams within 3 points of each other, and you make the decision then. But if they're where they are right now, 6 weeks from now, you can't trade these guys. You cannot trade Jake Evans. You can't do that. What message are you sending to the guys if you do that? Now, obviously, if somebody comes to me and blows me away with a trade offer, like absolutely blows me away for David Savard, I'm willing to look at it. I'm willing to look at it, but I don't think teams are going to blow the Montreal Canadiens phones up with offers, giving first-round picks and big-time prospects to get David Savard, Jake Evans, or Yoel Armia. So, what does another late first-round pick do for the Canadiens? Nothing at this point. They're stocked already with 2 picks this year. I believe they have 2 picks next year. There's really no point to doing that. If I'm the Montreal Canadiens, I hold. I don't buy, I don't sell. I hold where I'm at. If there's a deal to be made where I can improve the team because of an injury or something, maybe, but I wouldn't overpay. I wouldn't, and you're going to overpay at the trade deadline. So I think you hold if you're the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, barring an injury and there's a void, there's nothing to do here. Maybe Christian Dvorak, but again,
maybe, yeah.
I can't see how the phone is going to blow up for Christian Dvorak. And I also think if the Canadiens are quote unquote in the mix, who's calling them? Like, nobody's calling Tampa Bay. And, by the time you get to the deadline, Tampa Bay may be either 2 points ahead of you or 2 points behind you. So I don't think the Canadiens are going to be able to field that many phone calls. The teams are going to getting the phone calls are the ones that are going to be completely out of a playoff spot. And I don't think the Canadiens will be in that mix. And it's 4 guys. It's not a small number, but if Evans, Dvorak, Armia, and Savard all leave on July 1st, it's the price of doing business, right? And it's the price of, like George said, keeping your team together. You can't go back into that locker room and talk, thanks for being in the mix. Thanks for being in a playoff spot. We traded Evans. Now we're going to bring up Owen Beck, who's, not really ready, but really love that 3rd-round pick or 2nd-round pick we got for Jake Evans. That's not gonna work with anybody. So if you do nothing, and if everybody walks. But the thing about free agency is you're allowed to go out and acquire other players as well. So it works perfectly. And if some of these guys probably would want to come back, specifically probably Evans, Armia, and Savard would probably want to come back and continue their careers here. So no, that's it. Barring an injury, they are probably going to do nothing.
Fair enough. All right. And we'll move on to the final question of the night. Gentlemen, brought to you by Resto Vivaldi. Resto Vivaldi, hit them up. Best bring your own wine restaurant in all of Montreal.
Could we get in the video, Dave? Maybe like us in the video.
It's possible. We can make anything happen. I mean,
let's make it happen, Dave.
All right.
Make it happen. I want to be cooking some octopus or something.
Nice,
Dave. I can use the publicity secret right here.
Yeah, well, for sure. So check out their videos at Resto Vivaldi. I mean, your guys' faces on this might even boost it even more. Let's go.
I'm ready.
I want to see what you guys can cook.
Let's do it.
But check them out at Resto Vivaldi. All right, final question of the night, guys. Is Lane Hutson the greatest Habs prospect in recent memory?
No. That's a tough one.
Ooh, all right.
We forget because it's the world, and I'm not going to go back to I remember Chris Chelios playing for Team USA and then coming up, but that's not recent memory, right, Dave? Because you have no idea.
Yeah, that's before my time, so it's not recent.
You think Chris Chelios was playing black and white television, Dave? So I don't. I'm just going to say this. I'm not even going to say the Subban hype, but I'm going to say the one gentleman who was hyped and I believe met expectations was Carey Price. And I think we forget that. Lane Hutson, I think, is going to go on to win the Calder Trophy because his team is just going to continue to play with momentum. I think he's going to pile on the points. He's going to make a living on that power play for the next decade. But he is not the sole reason this franchise has a puncher's chance. Carey Price was the sole reason that team had a puncher's chance. And if you don't believe me, I have video evidence of many hockey games and many playoff series. We forget. Carey Price was a big deal. 5th pick overall, first goalie to go. Guys like me were still screaming for Anze Kopitar.
Who's still playing, by the way.
Yeah, but
Hall of Fame career as well.
I also still think Anze Kopitar.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But, look, I don't think he was surrounded as well with the talent or the drafting. But Carey Price, we saw him at the World Juniors. We saw him, I believe, was a gold medal and the penalty stops and all that stuff. And he came in with this incredible hype, won the Calder Cup, right? The American Hockey League title with Hamilton. So he came in with incredible amount of hype. and he lived up to all that hype. So I think Lane Hutson is on that list. I think Lane Hutson's going to be great, but I'd like to remind people about the hype and surrounding Carey Price before he came up.
Fair enough.
So the question was recent memory. I will put Carey Price in my recent memory. Absolutely.
I hope so, George. The guy played for 3 years.
Absolutely. He's in my recent memory, but I will say I think Lane Hutson is right now the greatest prospect. And I'll tell you why. It's very simple. What he's accomplishing in his rookie year right now, Simon, is unprecedented for a Montreal Canadien. And I think it's looking like, the trajectory looks like, when his career is said and done, it'll actually be more impressive than Carey Price's. Now, that's saying a lot because we have a very small sample size to go off, right? That's a very small sample size. But if I take that sample size, and that's usually where we get into trouble, right? When a guy scores 10 goals in the first 15 games and we say he's going to score 85,
Well, when we say we get into trouble, you mean you?
No, I mean we all do it. We all do it to some extent, okay? But I mean, that's where we get into trouble. But I will say, Lane Hutson right now in half a season and how he's progressed in that season, not only what he's done, but the way he's done it. In that he started off really slow, he wasn't getting a lot of points, he wasn't, asked to play the big minutes against the big lines. I think Lane Hutson's career, when it's said and done, will be more impressive than Carey Price, and Carey Price a Hall of Famer. So that says a lot. I'm excited. He brings me out of my seat. I think what he's accomplished for such an inexperienced player is highly impressive. And look, he's the talk of the NHL right now. I mean, every team is noticing what this kid can do, and he's hitting home runs, man, every single time right now. I don't think anybody expected this type of success. So I think you got to give him right now the title. He's the greatest prospect in recent memory.
Wow, I'm glad you repeated that take, so because I will cut and edit it. It's an amazing clip, and you'll get lots of love/hate.
I'll get some hate for it. That's okay. I'm willing to. These shoulders can take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, you watch him. Look, I love it because you're seeing it with Makar and Hughes, and you're kind of seeing it that there's a new breed of defenseman. It doesn't happen overnight, and there's going to be more Lane Hutsons. His brother's another guy like that, but it's exactly what we sign up for. Hockey to be played that way, So it should be fun. And look, if he starts collecting the hardware as of this year, it makes it for quite a special season and a great jump start to a career.
I think the one thing to be kind of cautious about is you don't know really what you have until you get to those playoffs. And then because the playoffs are a whole different animal. The game is called differently. It's much more physical. Teams are playing for keeps when it comes to the playoffs, and they're going to go after him. They're going to go after him every single shift. He is going to be targeted. So if he can get through that, if he can get through the fire of the playoffs, well, then nothing's going to stop this guy.
Until Lane Hutson takes a team with David Desharnais, Max Pacioretty, and Thomas Vanek as their top line to a conference final, he has not accomplished anything close to what Carey Price did.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. I'm willing to accept that.
It's just such a good, when you watch teams like the Leafs and the Avalanche and stuff, they have guys who are like worth the price of admission, right? Like you hold your breath every time, and you're at the edge of your seat every time they touch the puck. And the Canadiens for the longest time didn't really have any of that, and now with Laine, with Caulfield, with Lane Hutson, it's like
not getting outshot 38-10 and winning 2-1 or winning overtime. This is the fun to watch, man, and winning. What's better than that? Like, nothing.
And you know what? It looks like it's only going to get better. And it's been a long time since we've said that.
That Fowler and Hage were
Demidov and
Demidov
they were Hobie Baker nominees. No, I think I saw that.
Absolutely.
And you got Demidov. Good time.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. On the bandwagon, Dave. Plenty of room.
I will listen to you on Saturday and Sunday, of course, 10 to noon on TSN 690. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us at The Starters 690. Thanks, guys.
Ciao, boys.
Take care, guys.